The Eagles are gearing up for a rematch with Kansas City, and Nick Sirianni said something in his presser yesterday that already gives the Birds a clear advantage. So we'll talk about that. Also, Kellen Moore is becoming a lead candidate for another coaching job. Can the Birds, and most importantly, Jalen Hurts, afford to lose another play caller? And one stat from Kansas City side that is being completely overblown. I will tell you why that stat has no correlation to this upcoming game. We'll get into it all, but welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a huge favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're just about 100 subs away from 10K. The support has been astronomical. It's been amazing. Thank you all so much. And we started off with the Philadelphia 76ers. No, we don't want to bring the bad juju in. We don't want to talk about this team. But what we do want to talk about is a class act from the Philadelphia Eagles. You remember a couple days ago how the Sixers did not publicly congratulate the Philadelphia Eagles on their win because Josh Harris owns the Commanders. So how do the Eagles respond? They show up to the Sixers game. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Darius Slay, Reid Blankenship, Cooper DeJean, Paris Campbell, and more. And they watch Tyrese Maxey drop an absolute 43-point gem. And that is how the support should be between the teams in this city. So shout out to the Birds. They're all in good spirits. By the way, Reid Blankenship and Cooper DeJean were the only guys not to get a handshake from LeBron James. And that gives me even more hope that those guys will be motivated to make a name for themselves even more than they have, so LeBron knows who they are. But nonetheless, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles coaching staff. Kellen Moore completed his second interview. It was in person last night with the New Orleans Saints. And now Mike McCarthy has dropped out of the race with New Orleans. He originally said he was interested. Then they had some convos. Now he says he wants to coach next year. So it feels like Kellen Moore is now the leading candidate. But should he take the job? Should he stay in New Orleans after the bowl? Well, Kellen Moore is the third highest paid OC in the NFL, and he makes $2.5 million per year. And on top of that, why would he want to leave a very structured, competent organization like this to go to a bare bottom team that's old, that is overblown, that does not have the talent, that's going to take a while to restructure and revamp and all that, and pretty much fail and lose for a couple years until he can get back on his feet? When he can just wait maybe another year, be back in the coaching carousel, have another year of experience with this team, and, they'll probably be good again and try to make even a bigger name for himself. Look, maybe it all depends on if they win this year. If they win, maybe he's content. He says, let me go be a head coach, whatever. I get it. I respect it. But he's still making pretty good money right now. I don't know why he would want to go to the Saints at this current moment. But again, that is a decision for the man and his family. And if Kellen Moore ends up leaving for the job, Jalen Hurts will now be on his 11th play caller in the last 10 years, dating back to college. So you look at all this, man, I don't like it from a consistency standpoint. You look back at 2022, Jalen Hurts took a huge leap. Why? Because he actually had the same coordinator 2 years in a row with Shane Steichen, who was a mastermind. And I think based on how efficient he's been this year, and as much as we want to down Kellen Moore, I think he's done a pretty good job. And I give him credit for for example, always getting back to what works. Even if he gets off the railroad tracks and the train's steering off the tracks, he finds a way to bring it back on. And I think he's done a really good job with Jalen, and obviously limited the turnovers and all that stuff, made the game easier for him. And I think another year under his belt with Kellen Moore is only going to make Jalen 10 times better. You give me your thoughts on that down below. But we need to talk about this game because I went here on Twitter and I compiled as many storylines as I could think of, and I'm probably missing a few as well. But you got an SB 57 rematch, Hurts versus Mahomes part 2. You have Andy Reid versus the team that fired him, obviously one of the best coaches ever in the NFL, and of course here with the Eagles, Nick Sirianni against the team that he used to coach for again. Carson Wentz is the backup quarterback on the Chiefs. Eagles might let him get another ring on behalf of a starting quarterback taking over. Hopefully not. Chiefs going for a three-peat. No team has ever won 3 bowls in a row. And Saquon Barkley trying to get the all-time rushing record regular season and playoffs. I think he needs 30 yards to do it, which he probably is going to do. There's so much more. Zach Bond going back to New Orleans. C.J. Gardner-Johnson back in New Orleans. If I missed any, let me know down below. The main point I'm trying to make here is that this is going to be a classic. This is going to be a great game. I know people across the world are like, hey, this is the game we didn't want to see. Well, guess what? Don't watch it. You know you're going to have that TV on and be eating food and hanging with your friends and stuff and watching the game. And I hope it ends in an Eagles dominant win. And I got to tell you, man, these first couple of days, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm letting this game marinate on me. And I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about the matchups. And tell me if I'm crazy, but I'm starting to think the Eagles are going to win this in blowout fashion. Am I crazy? I don't want to underestimate anything. Like I said a couple days ago, Mahomes is great. He's already on pace to be maybe the best ever. But everybody wants to talk about this game, right? They want to talk about 38-35 and, the field conditions and the PI at the end and the Jalen Hurts fumble and this and that. That was a really, really good game. You know what game I want to talk about? I want to talk about this game. I want to talk about when the Bucs, with a strong defensive line and a really good quarterback who could obviously manage the game and throw the ball wherever he wanted to, and a running back who was good at getting chunk yards and Leonard Fournette, et cetera, went out there and they put a beating on Patrick Mahomes. 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. What did we continually say about that Tampa Bay team? Man, that defensive line, that pass rush is good. They know how to get to Mahomes. They know how to throw him off his game. They were flushing him out of the pocket. And when I think about this Eagles team, I don't think they're going to win 31-9. But am I crazy to think that they may have another dominant performance like this Bucs team did? I hate how good I feel right now. I don't want to be this confident because I'm getting nervous. But, man, I think the Eagles have a really good matchup. When I look at the Chiefs, Mahomes, 26-11 this season. He didn't even make the Pro Bowl. Then you look at their rushing game. They don't have a guy over 1,000 yards. I know they signed Hunt late. They had a ton of injuries. They just seem like they find a way when it matters most. No receiver over 1,000 yards. We go to their pass rush. We know that Chris Jones probably gets doubled every, drive, and he's only got 5 sacks, but their leading sack getter, 8 sacks. The Eagles clear this team in every margin, which is why it's very surprising that the Chiefs come in as an early favorite. Now, again, the storyline, the Taylor Swift stuff, the NFL wants to see this history happen, but I don't think the Eagles are going to let it happen. And a lot of people are talking about Andy Reid. Well, Andy Reid has the most wins in franchise history for the Eagles and Chiefs. We loved Andy when he was here, but guess what? People move on. Things happen. He's now the enemy. And what better way for the Eagles to cement what I will call the greatest season in Eagles history if they can complete the job than to beat not only Brady and Belichick, but Mahomes and Reid, saying that you have beat maybe the 2 best ever. There is no disputing how incredible that would be. So that's the storyline everybody should be looking at. And when I look at Nick Sirianni, I think this guy's ready, man. Time to give him his flowers a little bit. Nick Sirianni, 4 seasons as the head coach, made the bowl twice, made the playoffs every year, 53-23, highest winning percentage among active head coaches, 70.6. Come on now. Come on. Who else is doing this? First guy to make 2 bowls in Eagles history as the coach. And, you look at what Howie's done to reconstruct this team. Look at Jalen Hurts. Time to give these guys some respect. And the job is not done, but I feel very confident. This was a guy back in, week 5, week 6, week 7. We were talking about, hey, is he going to make it in the next couple of weeks? And I was in that convo too. And I will gladly admit that, but Nick changed his mentality. He changed his approach. He wasn't screaming at fans anymore and doing all that. He has been locked in. And I've never seen a group of guys come back after quitting on a coach like they did last year to this year, the way they've done for Nick. They really have his trust and all that. And I think they really trust in the message. Nick Sirianni, only coach to win the NFC twice in his first 4 seasons over the last 4 years. And here's where the advantage comes in, okay? Eagles coach Nick Sirianni says he kept notes after the team lost the last Super Bowl to the Chiefs. Nick says that he kept particular notes on what to do differently. He has been waiting 2 years to face the Chiefs again. So he kept particular notes against the team on certain matchups. And again, this is probably normal, right? Coaches do this and that. But Nick Sirianni doesn't have Jonathan Gannon anymore. He has the savant. He has Vic Fangio. And Nick Sirianni is going to remember what it felt like to walk off that field. You look at the Chiefs, of course they want to get history. They want to win another one, make it 3 in a row, but they've already won, right? Nick Sirianni is hungry. Every time this guy delivers a post-game speech, I just hear him talk about how hungry they are, and he wants more, and he's throwing F-bombs around. This guy ain't playing around. He's not a joke anymore. He's like, I'm ready to go out here and dominate this game He's not satisfied. I hear the same thing with Jalen Hurts. You know, they constantly show that clip in the Eagles, I think it was their film room, where somebody zoned in on Jalen Hurts' phone wallpaper, and it was him walking off in red confetti after they lost the bowl. These guys don't forget. You think Jalen Hurts, who hasn't turned the ball over in 11 games, is going to make that big fumble again? Even though he played the best game of his life, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, the way they're approaching this week, it's going to be interesting to see, but everything we've heard so far is they're locked in. And Nick Sirianni, he went into detail. He has kept every receipt. He knows how to attack this Kansas City team, who, by the way, is not as good as they were 2 years ago. And the Eagles are better than they were 2 years ago. So I'm really excited. And lastly, a stat being overblown. The Kansas City Chiefs are bringing this up a lot the last couple of days. Vic Fangio, 0-8 in games coached against Patrick Mahomes from his time in Denver and Miami. And that tells the whole story. Denver, who was good on that defense? Who was their best player? Surtain? What was he, a rookie? What about Miami? The guys that quit on Vic Fangio last year, and they painted him out to be the villain. And what did Vic Fangio do? He came to Philly as the number one defense in the league. Looks like an absolute mastermind. Miami went down the toilet even more. And those guys weren't built. They weren't built for the old school, hard-hitting, hustle, grit type of defense. Vic Fangio is exactly where he needs to be, and he's never had a defense this good. And this is the type of defense that can throw Mahomes off his game, just like we saw in that Chiefs and Bucks game. I think it was, 4 years ago now? So I am just starting to feel like this Eagles team has the recipe to win. We'll see if they can get it done. But give me your thoughts down below in the comment section. How are you feeling about this game right now? Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.
Tap into BetMGM Casino, and you're entering a huge library full of exclusive games. Games you won't find anywhere else. Looking for jackpots? Right this way. You'll always find someone ready to give you a hand. Or some dice. Your favorite game is waiting for you. On BetMGM Casino.